Welcome to Joy News Prime with me, Emefa Apawu. Over the next 60 minutes, more than 24 aid and campaign groups, both international and in Ghana, push for international creditors to cancel a large portion of Ghana's debts. Ghana Police Service cannot find one of its own officers responsible for the missing 190,000 CFA francs. That's making prosecution impossible. And some parents in the Ashanti region opting to move their children to public schools as prices of school fees soar. Thanks for choosing us. We are also live on myjoyonline.com and all our social media platforms. In our very first story, 13 aid and campaign groups, both international and in Ghana, push for international creditors to cancel a large portion of Ghana's debts. Government of Ghana in December formally started processes to restructure its foreign debts under the G20 Common Framework Platform. Ghana becomes the fourth country after Chad, Ethiopia and Zambia to do so under the framework. On Wednesday, Ghana missed a $41 million interest payment due to a $1 billion Eurobond. But the aid groups believe private lenders must share in the cost of the crisis they helped to create. Well, they've issued a statement on their various social media platforms and also on their website, and it says a group of Ghanaian civil society organizations have today released a statement calling on international lenders to cancel enough of Ghana's debt to make it sustainable. They call on Ghana to be supported by this. And then it goes on to say the latest country which has defaulted on debt and sought a debt restructuring since the COVID-19 pandemic and food and energy prices shot up in 2022. Well, signatories of the statement include the Integrated Social Development Center, that's ISODEC. We have Tax Justice Coalition Ghana, will be speaking to them. We also have Ghana Integrity Initiative, Ebibin Sroma Foundation, Caritas Ghana, and ActionAid Ghana. It's also supported by the African Forum and Network on Debt and Development, AFRODAD. We have Debt Justice Eurodad, Christian Aid, Oxfam, Public Services International, and the Third World Network. And then also the statement has these signatories. It says they welcome Ghana's suspension of most external debt payments until creditors agree to cancel enough debt to make it sustainable. They point out that the high interest rates private lenders charged mean that they should now be willing to accept losses on their risky bets. And then also, so that's the statement from these groups. It also talks about Ghana's lenders, particularly private lenders, lend at high interest rates because of the supposed risk of lending to Ghana. The interest rate on Ghana's Eurobonds is between 7% and 11%. That risk has materialized with the global COVID pandemic, rising food and energy prices, and now also increasing global interest rates. Given that they lend seeking high returns, it is only right that following these economic shocks, private lenders willingly accept losses and swiftly agree significant debt cancellation for Ghana. So that's the case that they are making. The organizations also called on the G20 and UK in particular to support Ghana in the debt negotiations. They also say the G20 can help by making clear that Ghana will be politically and financially supported to remain in default on any creditor which does not accept the necessary debt restructuring. Furthermore, Ghana's foreign currency bonds are governed by English law. The UK Parliament could update their Debt Relief Act to specify that no creditor can sue under English law for more than they would have got if they had taken part in the Common Framework debt restructuring. So that's portions of the statement there from these civil society and then also NGOs, international aid agencies on this. But I'll take you via Zoom shortly. But in a related development, we've picked some information that the Paris Club fronting talks with the G20 countries, saying the creditors are committed to hearing Ghana's case for debt cancellation. Well, Dean of the School of Business at the University of Cape Coast, Professor John Gachi, says government of Ghana will have to do a lot of convincing to get the buy-in of creditors before the appeal is approved. However, he's unsure all of its debts will be waived.
Well, debts have been cancelled over the years when certain conditions are present. And Ghana has received debt cancellation benefit in the past. I think Quite recently, we can talk about the HIPIC initiative. There were debt cancellation, debt forgiveness, etc. And the purpose of that is to give some respite to the country to recover and rebuild. That is the essence of that. It is not anticipated that the country will run into debt such that it is not able to pay its debt again. That is not the expectation. If you look at the period that we received benefit from debt cancellation, debt forgiveness, we exited the HIPIC initiative around 2006. Not quite long. We are here again. So as to whether the creditors are generally willing to provide us with that opportunity again is something that we need to discuss with them, provide cogent reasons why we think we should be given the debt forgiveness opportunity.
Let's interrogate the cause a bit further. And joining us now is policy analyst Bernard Anaba with the Tax Justice Coalition Ghana. We're grateful for your time here on Joy News Prime. So basically, you're asking the creditors to take the part of the blame to start with. How so? You have to unmute, Mr. Anaba, if you can hear me. Okay, we'll work okay, so it looks like we have him now. Thank you once again. If you could hear me.
Good evening and to you and your viewers.
Hello, Mr. Anaba.
The reason we are saying that...
Mr. Anaba, you have two devices, so you would have to mute one so we can hear you. Would work and then have a better connection to Mr. Anaba shortly because they've petitioned the G20. They've done so with the UK, asking for Ghana's debt cancellation. We've heard analysts talk about the fact that we need the buy-in of these agencies before that can happen. Is it anything similar to what we've seen when it comes to HIPIC or not? Let's try Mr. Anaba once again and see if we have. But before then, a former finance minister and NDC flag bearer hopeful, Dr. Kwabena Dufo, who also owns several businesses' interests in the financial sector, says he's opposed to the debt exchange program as it stands now in its form. He's asking for some alternative suggestions. He's been speaking to my colleague Raymond Akwa in a yet-to-be-aired interview on Upfront.
I think we should all look at it again. You see, it's about money. Mm-hmm. A very noble man years ago somewhere said that never treat money affairs with levity. Never treat money affairs with levity. Money is character. In the local palace, we had the music, we said, Sky Muja. What you manage, talk about money, be very careful. If it goes wrong, people can die. Yeah. So I think, much as we need to maybe use the bond, or manage the bond in a way that will give us a very solid fiscal consolidation, we should be careful about the lives of people.
Do you agree that a domestic debt exchange is the right way to go?
No, I am looking at the need to have strong fiscal consolidation.
Okay.
I'm a shareholder of a company. They're talking about taking some bonds. Nobody has consolidated me. Nobody has to. I have no idea about that. I only heard it from the radio, and my children told me this was happening, but nobody has spoken to me. Now, we need to...
You, shareholder?
I'm a shareholder in the company.
As in, shareholders have not been consulted?
I have not been consulted. But let me come and say, if you look at the 137 billion old bonds that we want to exchange for new, the old bonds, the weighted average for their maturity, it's about 3.8 years That's about 4 years.
Okay.
The coupon rate, the weighted average coupon rate, is about 19.1. The new ones they are introducing, the maturity will be what? About 9.5 from my own calculations.
Okay.
About 9.5, so almost 10 years. And the coupon rate attached to this is about 8.1.
Okay.
So in effect, they are saying that, yes, the loss we are experiencing, you take 55%, the bondholder, government, I'm taking 45%. And the loss is almost 60% to the bondholder. Government, about 40%, 40%. Looking at what's happening in the market now, the benchmark 91 TB rate, treasury bill rate, is about most 35, about 34%. So if you were to buy treasury bills now, government, you will pay about 34%, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I would have proposed that, yes, let's stretch the new bonds to 10 years or beyond. But looking at the market now and the economy now, the 19.1 coupon rate that the old ones were enjoying, I'll keep it like that.
Okay.
And not 8.1. Because the cost of borrowing to you government.
Well, he also asked that the current debt exchange program will particularly collapse the insurance sector.
There's a question I wanted to connect to this because, and of course, because we're still talking about debt restructuring, this question is important because you know the finance sector in this country very well. There are some who will say that we've been through reform and now there is a domestic debt exchange.
Yeah.
Can the finance sector of Ghana survive all of this turbulence?
The answer is no. If we don't manage the domestic debt exchange program properly, the financial sector will be weakened such a way that it will not be able to perform the role that sector is supposed to perform. We should be very careful. The bond of 137 billion is huge.
Okay.
You look at the insurance companies, for example. You see, the insurance companies, the premium they collect are now in the government bonds. You understand? The premium, if it's a general business, is there for claims payment. Your car is involved in an accident, you have to pay from the claim, from the premium they collected from you and other people, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, it's in the bonds, government has taken over the bonds. If there's a claim, how would they pay?
That's interesting.
How would they pay?
But I will not take an excuse if I have a claim before an insurance company.
You go there.
Yes, I will insist on getting my money.
And the insurance company cannot say, oh, the bond is with government. No.
Yeah.
The contract you have is with the insurance company.
Not with
Not government.
Yeah.
But the government, because of difficulty we are going through, has taken over 55% of the money. How would they pay the claims? That's general. Get even life. It's even more serious with life.
Oh, okay.
Life, they have what they call endowment. Endowment, yes, you are paying 2,000 cedis every month to the insurance company. After 10 years, you go for the money. Or 15 years, from 20 years. It's like savings that you are making.
Yeah.
These monies have been found in government bonds. Because of the difficulties we're going through, government has taken over about 55%, whatever. So when you go to the insurance company, 10 years ago I started saving, I need my money back. I said, oh, government has taken 55%. What will you do?
But Is it not interesting that this same industry called insurance, we basically gave them very little option than to put their money into bonds?
Yes, unfortunately. You see, so some of them are saying that we're misled to put our money in government bond, knowing that you take the money one day. It's not a very right accusation.
I get you.
But I understand their desperation. So were we misled? They're asking.
It's a legitimate question.
We're misled? We have done that. Now you are taking 55% of the money.
Okay. Now, because it's interesting how this goes. So when they put their money, if they have so much money sitting on their books and they have so much cash flow, you complain. You actually sanction them one way or the other. Ask them to pay something on it. If they actually go into real estate, you complain too.
Yes.
Making it the only viable option or one of the most reasonable options is to go into bonds. And yet now they are being affected by a domestic debt exchange.
Sure. And see, the effect it's going to have on the economy, on Ghanaians, is what worries me. See, the confidence in government instruments is what we should watch.
Okay.
Because people may begin to say, oh, there's no point investing in government instruments. If I have my money, I wouldn't even buy treasury bills. I'll put my money at home because it may happen again.
Oh, that's what people say.
Yes.
And we apologize once again for our inability to air that full interview earlier today. But same time tomorrow, the full interview will be also on myjoyonline.com and all our social media platforms. But speaking on debts, we'll stay on our very first story that we've been talking about 13 key aid agencies and some NGOs have come together calling on the G20 and the UK to cancel Ghana's debts. And joining us once again is policy analyst Bernard Anaba with the Tax Justice Coalition Ghana, joining us via Zoom. Thank you once again for joining us. Hopefully we have a better connection to you. I'll first want to find out if we have the backing or the buy-in of government with this call for our debt cancellation.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear now.
Right, that's fine. Well, I think government have no choice. We are choosing to back the government, and the government has already applied for a debt committee to look into the debt restructuring at international level. So the government need our support. They need political support, the financial support to be able to negotiate a good deal for Ghana in general. So the government has no choice than to, like what we have done. And we are actually asking for debt cancellation, especially looking at the kind of benchmark we have set out. So we want to achieve a debt to GDP ratio of about 55% by 2028 upwards. We want to achieve a debt service ratio of about 18%. And you cannot achieve that without canceling a significant portion of your debt. And we have gone into procuring this debt, usually because we are an African country, a developing country. We have actually procured this debt at a very high cost because the creditors assume that we are at a very high risk of default. So we borrowed at a very high rate. So it has come calling that, well, indeed, we have defaulted. So it is now for them to share in that burden. So all that we are saying is that they have to look at what has happened, not only our internal mismanagement that may have caused our problem, but also because of the cost of debt. And the cost of debt has also put us in this. That's why we are saying that in terms of the debt negotiation, they should look at canceling a significant portion of our debt that will allow us to return back to sustainability.
Well, when you talk significant portions, really, in what percentages are you looking at?
Well, that we need to calculate that. And looking at that, for instance, if you look at the private bondholders, that's about 64% of all the debt that Ghana has contracted. So if it calls that we need to cancel about 60 to 70% of that in terms of interest and principal to return us to a sustainable level, then that has to be done. And that's what we are saying. So it means that when you go into that negotiation, you are going to look at what really returns us back to sustainability. That is an area that we'll be looking at later, but definitely that needs to be done so that we'll be able to achieve the kind of level, the kind of sustainability that we need. Otherwise, we'll not be able to get the country back. No matter what we do with the domestic debt exchange, we still need a significant portion of external debt to be cancelled before we can achieve that sustainability.
Okay. The issue about fiscal discipline also comes up because we've been to HIPIC before. We've been there, done that, and we have to go back again asking for this kind of debt cancellation. Is there really a measure or a policy that we are going to be putting in place such that if these creditors or lenders agree to cancel that significant portion of debt, we will not go back cup in hand once again? It appears. No, it's just breaking up a bit. I don't know if our debt is affecting our Zoom this evening. Let's try again.
Yeah.
Much better.
Right. Can I try again?
Yes, much better now.
Yeah, I'm saying that since we went to HIPIC, the IMF and World Bank together put in place the debt sustainability framework. That is to provide a kind of early warning system against we returning back to this scenario. And that is why the IMF usually conduct the Article 4 quotations to ensure that our debt are at sustainable levels.
Okay.
But that has failed. And we'll put that blame at the doorstep of the World Bank. But they have actually allowed it. And also because we haven't been transparent. So going forward, we need to be more transparent in terms of how we manage our debt.
Okay.
Recently, recently in terms of the censure motion at Parliament, we heard what happened. It meant that there was no transparency. We are not reporting what everybody understands that must be reported, and all those issues must be done so that ahead of time we all know what's happening. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have the connection keeps breaking, but I was hoping we could hear you tell us if indeed the G20 and the UK have responded to this petition that you've all put together so far, briefly. Right.
So the G20 is the countries, the Paris Club and most other countries are part of the G20, and they have responded that they formed a committee, and that's positive. The problem about the G20 is China. China is the odd one out of it. With the Paris Club is a node that are willing to negotiate this thing, but China is the issue.
Okay.
And that is what actually slows the process. And so the problem is that with the G20, the multilateral, the World Bank and the IMF are not committed to forgive debt. So at that level, it means that the amount of debt that is forgiven is limited. So that's the only problem with the G20. But so far, what has happened with some creditors willing to come to the table is a very good sign. We expect that China and other creditors are willing to also come on board.
Okay, we're grateful, Mr. Anaba. This is an issue that we'll explore further subsequently. He's a policy analyst at Tax Justice System. Let's move on to some other stories. I'll take you to Parliament now, where the Public Accounts Committee have been sitting, and there have been some shocking revelations there. Well, this afternoon, the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare, appeared together with the Interior Ministry, and he's been disclosing that officers at the center of the missing 190,000 CFA cannot be found. Reason why it is delaying prosecution. According to the 2020 Auditor General's report, the Takwa Division of the Criminal Investigations Department did not account for some $81,000 and 40,000 francs they've retrieved from suspects' exhibits. Well, clarifying the matter at the PAC, the IGP reviewed that the currencies were not only fake, but the amounts were also underdeclared. And one of its officers responsible resigned and cannot be found. There's more in the following report.
And when they analyze it instantly, with their instinct, they thought that there was something wrong with the currencies. It couldn't be genuine. So they picked them up and took them through the process of investigations. And as a result, those values, the US dollars and the CFA funds, were sent to the CID headquarters.
According to the IGP, Dr. Ekufu-Dampare, preliminary investigations into the matter revealed that the initial amount was underdeclared by 150,000 CFA. He said the money was retrieved to the CID headquarters and later sent to Ivory Coast for authentication. He said after authentication, all the currencies were declared as fake. Meanwhile, after sending the cash back to Takwa, it could no longer be found.
But the police on their own, the course of investigation, realized that it was more than the 40,000. It was 190,000. So that 190,000 was brought from Takwa to the CID headquarters, and through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, it was sent to Côte d'Ivoire, the authorities, for them to authenticate it for us as to its genuineness or otherwise. And that was done, and the results with the accompanying appendix indicate that they were all faked.
But the interesting bit about the investigation is that the police cannot find one of their own who is at the center of the matter for prosecution.
Honorable Chair, there has been confusion as to who actually received it and the whereabouts of the money. And when it came to our attention, we have looked at the matter and identified 3 police officers who are involved in the matter. Unfortunately, one of them has resigned from the service, and we are making an effort to look for him and for him to be held accountable.
In the case of the Trades Ministry, the Public Accounts Committee has surcharged 2 regional directors of the NBSSI to pay a total of 1,914 cedis back to the state. The money was a tax they were expected to withhold on the payment of some goods and services.
Honorable Chair, we have a little bit of a challenge because when the auditors audited our regional secretariats differently, so we only looked at our own individually, the Ghana Enterprises own, and the regional ones separately. So there was a little bit of a lag there, but we have actually worked on it, so we will have it immediately.
Madam, I think 3 years is too long a time for this amount of
next week they'll pay it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're giving you next week to refund the money. If you don't get them, the accountants, Mr. Emmanuel Ampedu Sasu, and the regional manager, Isaac Dimako, will personally have to pay the money.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of the Interior said it has reached an agreement with 3 companies, Messiah's AEL Mining Service Limited, Orica Ghana Limited, and Maxim Ghana Limited to pay 1.5 million cedis to the government as tax difference charges on some explosive imported into the country within the period.
Well, staying a while longer, the Public Accounts Committee, the IGP, during its appearance, the issue about prophecies and issues about prophets and their communications of these prophecies came up. Well, the IGP insists that the police is not against prophecies, but it is how it is communicated.
As a Christian and somebody who also believes in prophecies, and by extension, I'm a prophet in my own right, because as a son of God, God will always have the opportunity to have engagement with you and tell you things in the future, if only you are ready to listen. But all the issues that we have been putting across as an institution is to prove to everybody that we are not against prophecies. We are talking about communication of such prophecies that will end up creating fear and panic in our society, which is unwarranted. Honorable Chair, it's a simple matter, and it's a very simple matter, and truly is a very simple matter. And what is it? Honorable Chair, before I became IGP, nobody prophesied about me. Now my IGP, everybody is prophesying about me. I have no problem with it because I'm a public figure. But why should it be such that you found something, God have revealed something to you and you want to share with me? You have to make it a showmanship and tell the whole country that I'm about to die, which of course I'm not afraid, because the only thing I'm afraid of is death. Because if you don't want to die, you shouldn't allow yourself to be dead. So once I have been born, I'm going to die. So as for death, The only thing I can do is probably become a friend of it so that he can treat me with some leniency.
Well, this is Joy News Prime. We'll take a quick break. Maybe I should prophesy to you that when we return from the break, some parents in Ashanti region opting to move their children to public schools as prices of school fees soar high. Welcome back. This is Joy News Prime. We head to the Ashanti region now, where some parents in Kumasi say they are compelled to withdraw their awards from private basic schools as the cost of education in these facilities shoots up. The worried parents say moving their children to these public schools has become inevitable due to the ballooning cost of tuition, feeding, transportation, and in some cases stationery. They believe it has become necessary to find an equally good but affordable education for the awards. Love FM's Clinton Yeboah caught up with some parents. Here's his report.
The inflicting economic crisis is only having a toll on people's pockets, including the educational choices of parents. Now, parents are compelled to enroll their wards in a school of circumstance other than school of choice. It is now expensive for parents to walk their wards to the gates of private schools to access quality education. The cost of tuition, transportation, feeding, and even stationery has seen an almost 200% increase. This has affected pupil intake in private schools, with some schools recording low attendance.
International school, class 4 Accra, 60 cedis.
My ward in primary 4 is buying 10 books at 45 Ghana cedis and 60 cedis each, aside school fees, transportation, and feeding. Considering all these, it's economical to enroll him in a government school where everything is free.
Now, almost school fees this year.
The bill received for my 2 children in a private school was too much. I am paying almost 2,000 cedis for books, so I have decided to enroll them in a public school.
The intakes in private schools are decreasing, and this has the potential of collapsing the private education sector. We spoke to the stakeholders who are concerned about the issue. But for some education officials, it is a positive gain as they comment on the government for its intervention to salvage the education in public schools. Ashanti Regional Director of Education, Willie Kwame Amankra Apia, says interventions like school feeding, no school fees are some pull factors for the spree for public education.
There are a lot of government intervention. If you come to the private school, the cost is there. But when you come to the public school, we don't take anything. We have food feeding. We give them food. So at the end of the day, it lessens the burden of the parents. So some of these things is aiding up for them to bring their children to the public schools.
Educationist Bashir Shuhu, however, believes the situation may leave many private school owners bankrupt, render many unemployed, and eventually collapse the private education sector. He is proposing the government extend the free stationery initiative to private schools and tax waivers to ensure sustainability of the private education sector.
If a school goes down or closes down, it means you have more than 10 people losing their job. The employer who has invested so much may not be able to even recoup anything. So if somebody is coming in to shoulder the government's responsibility, the government must not renege on supporting these private schools. These textbooks that parents are crying, the government could at least give them a section of it for their libraries. They pay taxes. If government can give them some level of waiver, because they pay tax on every single teacher. government could give them some leverage, some waiver, some deductions. I'm pretty sure most of the schools will bounce back.
Reporting for Joy News, Clinton Yeboah.
We'll stay a while longer there in the region, and about 85% of students in the Ashanti region of school for the deaf are yet to report to school in the second week of reopening. School authorities say parents often discriminate against their disabled children when fulfilling the educational needs of the wards, though they have the same curriculum as other basic schools. Nana Yaojima reports the late reporting of students have distorted the academic calendar and reduced contact hours.
All basic schools have entered the second week of the new term. At the Ashanti School for the Deaf, less than 70 of the 600 pupils of the school had returned from vacation. Though the cost of education here is absorbed entirely by the government, school authorities say parents use financial difficulty in purchasing provisions for boarding school as an excuse for the delay. Headmistress Vida Edu reveals the reoccurrence of such an incident puts the pupils in a disadvantageous position when they sit the basic education certificate examination.
Once a parent has seen the need to bring a disabled child to school, it means the parent has not neglected that child, but they don't place them as a priority. Because the school runs as the regular school, when school reopens, the parents settle the hearing children. I mean, those who don't have disability. They settle them in school before they take us a second chance. So that is why we stay in the home till the 4th week before the school is full. As they are planning for the hearing children, they should plan for us as well. Because we write at the end of the year, we write the same exams, the same time, the same period. So as they are delaying us in the house, it goes a long way to affect us in our teaching and learning.
The school, established in 1977, is the only one serving the whole of the Ashanti region. The school operates like all public basic schools, running the same curriculum. Since establishment, some of the facilities are yet to receive any renovation.
So all the facilities in the school are old. When we talk of our buildings, they are very old, so we will need building materials like paint, roofing sheets, louver blades, etc. All our louver blades, when you go to the dormitory and then the dining, they are all broken. We also need food items to support what the government brings to the school. One of our major problems is vehicle. The only pickup that we have is out of use. And then the bus that we also use to send the children for sports and then excursion activities is also spoiled.
Meanwhile, the Bookbinders Association in the Ashanti region has donated stationery worth 30,000 cedis to the school. The donation is expected to improve teaching and learning in the school. Peter Insia is chairman of the association.
Well, we decided to make this donation to this school because they are in need. Their parents have so many children to take care of, and they normally leave these people, these disabled. So we decided to this time come here to make this huge donation to them so that it can help them to learn. Even though the government is doing its best, it's not enough. So they need so many things like.
For Joy News, Nana Yaojima, Kumasi.
We'll head back to Accra shortly, but let me take you to the airport. Maybe we can catch a flight because the test run on the runway of the newly constructed Kumasi International Airport has commenced for standardization considerations. The exercise comes ahead of the facility's full operations of scheduled and chartered flights later this year. The Ashanti region is expected to leverage the new airport to attract more tourists, ease international air travel for persons in the northern sector of the country, create jobs and boost the local and national economy. Nana Boache Dankwayadom gauged the enthusiasm of Kumasi residents on the project's completion.
So just yesterday, testing at the Kumasi airport took place. The facility is expected to become fully operational for scheduled and charter flights later this year. How enthused are the people of Kumasi with the operationalization of the Kumasi airport?
For Kumasi airport and the new dimension that have been brought on board, the rehabilitations and all that, I think that what it will do, for example, is that it will increase passengers. For example, when you look at the data from the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, for example, in 2021, we had almost 417,000 people using the airport. It clearly tells you that with these new dimensions and they saying that now the airport can take 1 million people. It means that a lot of people will patronize the airport. Now there will be a lot of productivity and also growth that will come to the economy because a lot of people will travel easily because we have huge numbers and they will come and do their businesses here. The Ashanti region also has unique potentials when it comes to tourism. So it means that instead of people coming to the region by road, they can use the airport and fly and go to these tourism areas and all that. So there's a lot of improvement.
Formerly, they were traveling from here to Accra before picking a plane, going outside. But now that it is within their domain, it goes a long way to help them. And it cut cost transportation fee from here to Accra in a way to maybe also prevent them from maybe at times when you take a car, so many things may happen on the way, like excuse to say, God forbid that accident may occur. Since it's a newly open international airport, it kept a lot of future occurrences. Yeah, it's also boost business because at times we take goods from outside into the country. Picking goods from outside to the country, you pick it to Accra before transporting it again to Kumasi. But here's the case that it's an international airport. It will come straight to Kumasi. And also taking goods from here to outside, you also pick it straight. No more going to Accra. It cuts transportation fare and it cuts down cost.
Good, yeah. I pass Kumasi International Airport. Because according to who you made, simple. Now,
it's good we have an international airport to ease traveling from Kumasi without going to Accra.
But the Alabama Kumasi International, so to me, I want to say, foreign amazing we never Accra.
Going forward, we plead for embassies as well. It will ease the stress of going to Accra to get your visa.
It's almost the same thing as Accra.
Airports come say international abahana dem me there. But say na say minua na kire mu no. Say ase uye bibia Accra ansa na obefa you obefa no hanu enu pe ene ma dia ha me kakra.
It's great we have an international airport. But the issue is with going to Accra for visa. Honestly, having an international airport is better, considering the high expenses of traveling from Kumasi to Accra.
Direct, better say, fruno ha, free ha Accra no. Me, I think me say 1,000.
Charlie,
we'll
you
go
are
back
the latest.
again.
And that's how we wrap up tonight's edition of Joy News Prime.
For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. That's where you find all the news. Probe is there. You know, Beverly is up next.
Yes, with Prime Business. I am Emefa Apawu. I've been here with
Becky, Rebecca Dapo-Chinova, actually. But you can make it short. Just say Becky. Becky. Do we still have time to say something else?
No, it's okay. Let's go. Thank you so much for being a part of the show.